So through an exercise called the client model, it's realistic for advisors to restore a healthy balance among their client relationships, the level, quality of service, and their profitability. For those of you who are familiar with E-Myth by Michael Gerber, which is one of my favorite books, one of the key things in this book is business systems, a system really for doing everything in your business so that it's clearly defined, it's goal-oriented, and allows you to think about growing and managing your business strategically. So what is a client model? The business system. It helps firms evaluate the profitability of each client segment. You can evaluate your service capacity, establish some service standards so everyone who comes in the door gets the same level of service that's appropriate for that client segment, and then looking at your fees and account minimums, which equals either more revenue and profitability that will be in line with your firm goals. So if you've never done an exercise like this before, I think it's going to provide some great insight into where the misalignments are in your firm and how to start making key business decisions in the scope of your entire business, right? Not just one component, but your entire business to change the trajectory of your practice. So what components make up the client model? The first part is you have your client base analysis, which assesses a firm's clients, services, fees, capacity, and profitability. That's the first step. And then the second piece of this is your service model, which defines and really formalizes what services a firm will deliver to each client segment, how frequent, who's going to deliver the service, and how. So when you join these two together, it makes up a fully developed client model that can help provide firms with key insights and information. It can help you objectively determine how to best add value to your clients while also adding value in the form of profitability to your firm. So I want you to think about the key factors here, which are your clients, your revenues, your time requirements, cost, and profits. And the outcome provides advisors with a sense of how they can affect changes to their client base, right? And resulting business performance. It's also going to provide you with how you can better prepare for and manage growth, provides a view into whether you need to add new support staff and or advisors, figuring out who you need to help you run the ship. So what's uncovered in this initial analysis? So what you want to do is think about, the lack of profitability driven by unprofitable client segments. Maybe you have more C and D clients than A and B client segments, of which we're going to cover. Maybe you have a higher percentage of smaller and or unprofitable clients. Maybe there's a high variability in the profitability of your client segments. There's really no real consistency. Or you have too much or too little capacity for advisors and staff. So what this looks like is too much work and not enough people, or too little work and too much staff. So these are some things that I want you to think about as we continue to move forward in the presentation. So the goal of the client base analysis is step one, identifying the profitability of each client segment, assessing changes and what those changes are that can help improve the profitability to meet your goals, and then a lens on whether the service model that you currently have adds value to your client and to the firm. So let's talk a little bit about client segments, the A client. So this is someone who generates, say, $10,000 in annual revenues for the firm. There are 2 meetings per year, 2 review phone calls per year, and maybe an invitation to a client event. Now, as you think about this, outside of what services and the money that's being generated for this particular client, doesn't really tell you much else, right? Does it tell you whether you can provide this service profitably? Does it tell you the relationship of clients in this service tier to your other tiers? Even the capacity your team has to provide these services now and in the future as your firm grows? Or what's going to happen to revenue, costs, and profits as your client base grows? Are you going to be able to keep up with this level of service? So everyone, of course, wants this A type of client, right? And it's possible. But if you're finding yourself, and this is where the caveat is, if you're finding yourself with more maybe B, C, and D clients, this is going to detract from your ability to serve this client profitably. It's like you're adding more clients on the lower tier and not really having enough capacity to serve clients on your higher tier. And this is something interesting I've heard advisors say, and you may also feel the same way. They say, oh, well, my A clients are in part paying fees for my other clients so that it all balances out, so it's okay. So, of course, it's one way to look at it. But until you do a client-based analysis, you're not going to be able to see the true financial impact of that thought process. Why should your A clients continue to pay for your lower tier clients? And even asking yourself, are your lower tier clients paying appropriate fees for their service? All of this can come out of doing this analysis. So you want to think about developing your own client model for your business. And here are some steps in order to do that. So how to develop your own client model. So the first thing you want to do is segment your client base into revenue-based segments. And we're going to go over those tiers in just a moment. You want to calculate the average revenue for each segment. Define the services to be delivered or that will be delivered. Step 4 is define who delivers the service. Is it the lead advisor? Is it a support advisor? Is it a support staff person? And then estimating the time required to perform that service. And then lastly, you want to determine the average expense per client for each segment. And we're going to go through a sample of that in just a moment here.